Alright, we're recording. Yay! So we are continuing our grammar study because I know how much you guys are loving grammar. And today and tomorrow, we're going to work on subject-verb agreement. So the fun thing is you're actually going to homework tonight. Woo! I know, right? So exciting! The first night since basically school started, you guys didn't have homework. So if you've fallen behind on your homework, this is going to be a good night for you guys to kind of just get caught up. And it's going to be a good night for you guys to study. Okay, you have your test over all of our grammar stuff that we've learned so far and that we will learn the rest of this week. Next week, Tuesday. Wait. Wednesday. Wait. Yeah, it's one of those two. Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't really remember. Okay, I think it's maybe Wednesday because I think we're going to do a review on Tuesday and then you guys have your test on Wednesday. Okay, so a week from tomorrow. So you should be just spending some time every night just kind of looking over your notes, looking over your worksheets, that kind of thing. And remember, I've been posting all of the answer keys for your guys' worksheets on Google Classroom under that day's assignment. So today I'll post the homework from Friday. Okay, and then tomorrow I'll post the diagramming, answer key, and all of that stuff. Does that make sense? So like the keys get posted like 2 days later, just so I have time to grade and people can turn them in and that kind of stuff. Okay? Sound like a plan? So make sure you're checking those answer keys because those are going to be helpful study tools as well. And this morning I walked into my room and there were 2 essay contests sitting on my desk, and I was like, oh, that's exciting. So we don't usually get a lot of writing contests in here, so to have 2 in one day is like, what? So they are posted on the backboard if you guys like writing or you just want to try to earn some money. There are cash prizes for like first, second, third. One of them goes all the way to like 5th place. And you never know. Okay, even if you think you're a terrible writer, you might surprise yourself. So I would say it's worth doing. And one of the prizes is like $1,000. So that's a nice chunk of change. So if you want to, the information's back there. I also have more information, so you can come talk to me, and I'd be more than willing to like help you with the essay or edit it or whatever. So if that's something you're into, just know that that is currently an option for you. Okay, so today we are doing subject-verb agreement. Did everybody grab the notes from the back cube? All right, Mason's on it. Okay, so make sure you're filling out these notes as we progress through our slides today. Unfreeze this and go ahead and get started. So, what I like about subject-verb agreement is that for the most part, it's pretty easy to hear. Okay, so just as a reminder and a refresher from what we've been studying, a complete sentence has to have a subject and a verb. Okay, we know that. I've said it like 20 times. Remember that the subject tells who or what the sentence is about. It has to be a noun or a pronoun. Okay, make sure you're filling in your notes to go along with the slides. And then a verb tells us what the subject is doing if it's an action verb. Or if it's a linking verb, it'll link the subject to something being said about it in the predicate. So you have all 3 of these different types of verbs, right? And we've talked about all of these. Action, linking, and then helping. But remember, helping will never be by itself. It'll always be part of a verb phrase. Also, did you guys spend any time outside yesterday? Wasn't it gorgeous? Yeah. It was like the most beautiful day that we have had in quite some time. It was awesome. I took my 3rd period class outside, so I was like, we need to enjoy this glorious day. So,
It was like dusty out there.
it was what?
Dusty at my place, so.
Really? Well, you live in the country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that because it's been really dry. But it did rain a little bit this morning, so maybe that'll help. But yeah, it was just like the temperature was so glorious. Oh my gosh, I actually think I got a little sunburn sitting in the sun. Oh well. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. So what I want you guys to do really quick, just as a refresher, go ahead and circle the subject in this sentence and then underline the verb twice for me. To see if we remember. Circle the subject, underline the verb twice. Okay, let's try to finish in 5. Nice, you guys did pretty well. I'll show you. There's a little confusion with the verb, okay, but we all got the subject, which is great. So player is the subject. It's the who or what the sentence is about. And remember, subjects and verbs can never come inside of what? Aiden? Yeah. Subjects and verbs can never be inside of prepositional phrases. So we have a prepositional phrase there, right? On our side is a prepositional phrase. So if we got rid of that, it kind of eliminates some of the sentence. So the subject is players, and the linking verb, you guys have to memorize those. Remember, am is are was were be is. These are linked verbs. These are linked verbs. It's ours. Okay? Now, strong is what's called a predicate adjective. Okay, we haven't learned that yet, but it's describing the players. Okay, and this linking verb is linking the subject to something being said about it. Okay, so that's the function of a linking verb. So strong is not part of the verb. Okay, if you ever see an adjective following a verb, just know it's probably describing the subject. Okay, it's not part of the verb phrase. So are is our linking verb. Nicely done. Okay, so now that we've reviewed what subjects are and what verbs are, now we're going to start talking about agreement. Okay, and what agreement is, when I say agreement, what I mean is that the subject and the verb have to agree in number. Okay, so in a correctly written sentence, the subject and the verb agree or match in number, meaning that if one is singular, the other is singular. If one is plural, the other is plural. Okay? So both the subject and the verb have to be singular or have to be plural. You can't have a combination of both, otherwise it's not grammatically correct. And I think as we move forward with these notes, you guys, you're going to hear that it just doesn't sound right if you have a mixture. Happy? Yeah, wear your mask right, my man. Sorry. I know it's hot. I know. I'm with you. Okay, and I literally just said that. So in other words, if the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular too. And if the subject is plural, the verb has to be plural. Okay? Pretty basic, right? That is literally all that subject-verb agreement is. But we're going to get into some rules and some tricks and some things that you're going to see that might make it a little challenging to decipher. So let's start with talking about subjects. Okay, now remember, subjects have to be nouns or pronouns, right? So usually, plural subjects are going to end in S, right? Like somebody give me a plural noun. It can be any plural noun. Yeah, dogs, okay? So dog is singular, right? To make it plural, we just add an S to the end. You guys all know that, right? It's pretty basic. I think we learned that in like elementary school. Okay? So that's what I mean when I say plural, more than one subject, end in S. And that's going to be important for later on. Okay, so remember that. And here are some other examples. Babies, cars, and stores, right? They all end in S. Singular subjects, we know, do not. So baby, car, store, or, like our example, dog. Okay? They don't end in S if they're singular. Now, the reason I'm emphasizing this so much, even though I know you guys already know it, is because verbs are the opposite. Verbs are the opposite, and this only applies to action verbs, okay? But singular verbs end in S. Okay, we have plural subjects that end in S, but then if we look at the verbs, singular verbs end in S. Isn't that crazy? So like, dog, what does the dog do? Run, okay? So the dog runs. Look at that. This one is our singular. Dog runs, okay? The plural subject ends in S, but the singular verb ends in S. So they kind of just switch places. So it's a good rule of thumb to know that between your subject and your verb, only one of them should end in S. That's just kind of like the way that you can remember that, okay? So here are some examples of singular verbs as well. Runs, sleeps, and eats. And then plural verbs, of course, do not end in S, right? So the dogs run, right? If we said the dogs runs, it just wouldn't sound right. Or the dog run, it just wouldn't sound right, okay? So again, a lot of the subject-verb agreement you can kind of hear. Yes, Aiden?
What if you switch up dogs
For moose, well, again, it's going to depend on if you're talking singular or plural, right? Because moose can be both singular and plural. So if you're saying the moose and you only see one moose, then you would use the singular runs. But if you're talking the moose, like a herd of moose, then you would say run. Okay, so then that verb is going to indicate whether you're talking about more than one. So it's a good question, but also, if we're talking about more than one moose, typically we would say like, I don't know what you call, is it a herd of moose? Okay, the herd of moose run. Okay, so those tricky instances are why it's good to know the rule. Okay, great question, Aiden. Love it. Any other questions so far? Is this making sense? Okay, now these rules, you guys, with the S's, they only work for action verbs. They don't work for linking verbs. You can't just add S to the end of a linking verb to make it singular or take it away to make it plural. So, okay, yeah, this is a note. This is going to come up a lot, but often to English speakers, it's going to sound wrong if it is wrong. So just trust your ear on this, okay? So linking verbs are different from action verbs. You kind of just have to memorize what category the linking verbs kind of fall under. And I know that this is not all of the linking verbs, but these are the most common ones that actually can be split into a category. Okay, so singular linking verbs would be is, was, and has. Plural linking / helping verbs are, were, and have. Okay, so those are just really good to know. So I would like star that in your notes or highlight it or circle it or something or write yourself a note, you need to know this. But again, a lot of times it's just going to sound wrong to us if it is wrong. So again, trust your ears, okay? All right. Now, some issues that we can run into with subject-verb agreement is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the lesson today and tomorrow. So the first issue that we run into is when we have words between the subject and the verb. And we saw that in our very first practice that we did. So the subject and the verb, remember, are never going to be inside of a phrase. So if you eliminate all the phrases first, it helps you kind of narrow down where your subject and your verb can be. And I have been stressing this to you guys over and over and over again, right? I always say, get rid of the prepositional phrases, get rid of the prepositional phrases, because your subject and your verb can never be inside of a prepositional phrase. And if you get rid of the phrases, it's going to be easier to hear if your subject and your verb are agreeing. So here's an example. The files of any computer are vulnerable to electronic age thieves. We have a couple of phrases in there, right? What are our phrases that are in there? What are our prep phrases? Auburn?
To electronic age thieves.
To electronic age thieves. Get rid of it. What else? Lauren? Of any computer. Get rid of it. So now what we're left with is the files are vulnerable. Okay, do you see how much that narrowed down where our subject and our verb can be? Getting rid of those prep phrases is essential. It's going to be super helpful for you guys, especially when you're trying to make sure your subject and your verb agree. So we would just get rid of those. Our subject is files, and our verb is are. Okay, so we're getting rid of the phrases between the subject and the verb because it helps us hear it better. The files are vulnerable. Okay, those agree because we have a plural and a plural. Is this making sense so far? Okay. All right, let's do some practice then. So I want you to rewrite this sentence so that the subject and the verb agree. Okay, rewrite the sentence so the subject and the verb agree. So first you have to find the error, and you have to figure out how you're going to fix it. Now, I'll give you guys a hint. You only have to change one word in this sentence to make your subject and your verb agree. You don't have to rearrange anything. Okay, you just have to change one word. Okay, let's finish with 5. Okay, guys, here's the deal. If we say this out loud, does it sound right? The place, setting, or a farmhouse in the early 1900s. It doesn't quite sound right. Okay, it sounds like okay, but we can do better. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to identify our subjects and our verbs. And we know that our subjects and our verbs cannot be inside of a prepositional phrase. So how about we just get rid of any prep phrases? Do we have any prep phrases we can get rid of? Malachi? Yeah, in the early 1900s. Okay, so if we get rid of that, I mean, it doesn't help us a whole lot, but at least it's something, right? It's kind of narrowing down where our subject and our verb can be. So then we just have to figure out, okay, what is the subject of this sentence? So what do we think? Where's the subject? Who or what is this sentence about? So, not quite. Yes. Okay. The sentence is about the setting because the farmhouse is what the setting is, right? It's giving us more information about the setting, which is why it's not the subject. Okay, great. So setting is our subject. Why is plays not our subject? Who remembers that rule? Why is plays not our subject? One person's been studying. Okay, Auburn, lay your knowledge on us.
It's possessive.
And possessives are always what? Adjectives. Do you guys remember me hounding that into you? Possessives are always adjectives. Since this has the apostrophe S, it's a possessive. It's a word that shows ownership. Possessives can never be subjects. They are always adjectives. So it's describing the setting. So setting is our subject. Is setting singular or plural? Are we talking about one setting or more than one setting? Show me on your fingers. Do one or do more? What are we talking about? One or more settings? Does it end in S? No. Okay? Remember, plural subjects end in S. Okay? You guys know this. I'm not trying to trick you, I promise. I know sometimes it seems like the subject-verb agreement, I'm trying to trick you. There's no tricks here. Okay? You already know all this information. I'm just teaching you how to think about it and think it through logically. Okay, so setting is singular. Okay, we're talking about one setting. So we need to make sure that our verb is also singular. Where is our verb? Who got it? Where's the verb? All right, Santi? It is are. What kind of verb is that, Santi? It's a linking verb. You guys have to memorize those, okay? Are is our linking verb. It's linking our subject to something being said about it in the predicate. Okay? So are, if you guys look at your notes, right, I gave you that list of singular and plural linking verbs. Is are singular or is it plural? What do we think? Is are singular or plural? Everybody look at your notes if you don't know the answer. Just gave it to you. Is are singular or plural, Mary? Yep. Okay, are is plural, but we need it to be singular, right? We have to make the verb singular to match the singular subject. So what are we going to change are to? Lauren? Is. It's that easy, right? It's not complicated. You just have to make sure that your subject and your verb are either both singular or both plural. Now, why would we not change the subjects to be plural to match the plural verb? Why would we not do that in this sentence? Why couldn't we say the play's settings are a farmhouse in the early 1900s? Why does that not work? Or does it work? Making me think on Tuesday morning. I'm the worst. Malachi, what do you think? Yes. Okay. He said we have to put an S in farmhouses. This predicate here indicates that we're talking about only one thing, right? We're talking about only one farmhouse. So if we're only talking about a singular farmhouse, then we better be talking about a singular setting. So we better change our verb to be singular as well. Does that make sense? So to figure out how to make your subject and verb agree, whether it should be plural or singular, you need to look at the context of the rest of the sentence, okay? Because according to this context, we're talking about just one thing. So subject and verb need to be singular. Is this making sense? Okay. A little bit concerning. You guys seem to do okay with it. You just got to think it through, okay? Let's try this one. Rewrite this sentence. Find your subject first, find your verb, figure out if they agree, and how you can fix it if they don't. Try to finish the 5. Okay. We don't have any phrases to get rid of. So that's easy. Where's our subject? Who or what is the sentence about? Jacob? Nope. If you ever see, and I'm glad you said that, okay, if you ever see this comma, okay, offsetting a name, it's not the subject. Okay, what that's called is in a positive, giving us more information about wife. Okay, so not the subject. So what's the subject here? Or who? Mason? The sheriff. Okay, sheriff is the subject. What's our verb? Aiden? Suspect. Okay, is sheriff singular or plural? Okay, I want you guys to hold up. 1 finger if you think it's singular, 2 fingers if you think it's plural. Is sheriff singular or is it plural? Okay, you guys all know this. You're all just scared to talk. I get it. It's early morning on second Monday. It's singular, right? We're talking about one sheriff. How about our verb, suspect? Is that singular or plural? Show me on your finger. Is that a singular verb or a plural verb? Look at my rule. Is suspect singular or plural? It's plural. Okay, because remember, singular verbs end in S. Plural verbs do not. Suspect does not end with an S here. So it's actually plural. Right. So we've got a singular subject and we've got a plural verb. We need to fix this. Now, the easiest way, you guys, is just to add an S to the end of that verb. Okay? Make the verb singular as well. Okay? Because remember, singular verbs end in S. So the local sheriff suspects the victim's wife, Minnie. I saw some of you adding an S to the sheriff to make sheriffs plural to match the verb. That's okay too. You can do that as well because in the context of this sentence, okay, we don't know how many sheriffs there are. But I will say this about subject-verb agreement, you guys. Typically, when you're changing something, you're going to change the verb, okay, because the context of the sentence needs to remain the same. This is probably a really small town that only has one sheriff, so we just want to make sure we change the verb to agree with the subject. Does that make sense? Okay, so we would just add an S to suspect, and pretty much everybody got it. Okay, again, I'm just trying to get you to think it through logically and tell me why you're doing it instead of just, oh, it sounds right. Okay? All right, one more practice here. Go ahead and try this one. Try to finish in 5. Okay, we did a really nice job on this one. I feel like we're getting the hang of it. Also, if you say the sentence out loud, it just doesn't sound right, does it? Gradually, people discover Minnie's motives for murder. That's a lot of S's. Okay? Where's our subject here? Malachi? Yeah, you got it. Okay, people is our subject. Is people singular or plural? Show me on your fingers. Singular or plural? Plural, right? Person is singular. People is talking about more than one person, so it's plural. Okay, where's our verb? Away. I feel like you know this, girl. Yeah, see, you do it. Discovers is our verb, right? It's an action verb. Is that verb singular or plural? Show me with your fingers. Singular or plural? Discovers. Singular verbs end in? Singular verbs end in? S. You guys, singular verbs end in S. So this verb is singular. Right? Okay, we have a plural subject and a singular verb. Does not compute, right? We can't do that. So what do? What's the easiest fix here? Aiden?
Make the subject past tense.
No. Never ever change the tense. I picked on you on a reason. I know I saw you do that. Okay, so I'm sorry, I picked on you. Okay, we do not want to change the tense of the sentence. Okay, we want to keep it present tense. So Auburn, what do?
Choose discovers to discover.
Yeah, just take off that S, right? Let's just take the S off of that verb, make it plural to fit with the plural subject. Boom, easy, right? questions so far? You guys feel like you're kind of getting it? I'm sorry, singular verbs end in what? Singular verbs end in what? Don't forget this, okay? Okay, guys, now we're going to start getting a little more complicated and talking about some more intricate stuff when it comes to subject-verb agreement. And to do that, we have to talk about indefinite pronouns again. Okay, we've already talked about indefinite pronouns, but I want to just remind you what they are. An indefinite pronoun refers to an unspecified, okay, indefinite, not definite, an unspecified person or thing. Now, why we need to talk about indefinite pronouns again is because you can see by this chart that some indefinite pronouns are always singular. And here's my trick to you to help you remember the singular indefinite pronouns. If it ends in one body or thing, it's going to be singular. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If it ends in one body or thing, it's going to be singular. Okay, do you guys see that? I mean, look at that singular list. Most of them end in one body or thing. There's a couple exceptions, right? Like each and neither and either and another. But one body and thing indefinite pronouns are singular. Then we have this teeny tiny list of plural indefinite pronouns. You guys just need to be familiar with these. Both, few, many, and several. And if you guys listen to them, they sound like they're talking about more than one person, place, or thing. Right? Both. More than one. Few. That's like a couple, right? Many. That's a lot. Several. Okay? That's several. Right? They sound plural. And then, this is where it gets really tricky. Okay? We have these, this bottom row. These indefinite pronouns can be singular or plural, depending on how they're used in a sentence. What? No way. Yes way. Okay, so just kind of pay attention to those. You want to be familiar with them, just so you know when you see them in a sentence how they're functioning. And we're going to go through some examples here, so don't worry. Okay. So we'll start with the easiest ones, right? Singular indefinite pronouns, they obviously have to have a singular verb, right? So anytime you see a singular indefinite pronoun that ends in one body or thing, you better make sure it has a singular verb. And singular verbs end in S. Singular verbs end in S. S. Okay, great. So here would be an example. One. Oh, one body or thing. Okay, there it is. One. It's singular. So we need to make sure that the verb reads is singular as well. Singular verbs end in S. So there it is. One reads Harry Potter. That is grammatically correct. Okay? On the flip side, the plural indefinite pronouns have to have a plural verb. Okay? So here would be an example. Few. Okay? Few is one of our plural indefinite pronouns. Realize, okay, it doesn't end in S, so it's plural. Few realize that wizards exist. Right? You making sense so far? Picking up what I'm putting down? Smelling what I'm stepping in? All right. Now, the tricky ones. Okay? Some indefinite pronouns, that bottom list. Did I put that chart in your guys' notes? Yeah. Perfect. Okay? So that bottom list, when it's referring to one person or thing, has to take a singular verb. And if it's referring to two or more people or things, it has to take a plural verb. And the way you're going to be able to tell is because usually when these indefinite pronouns are being used as the subject of a sentence, they're going to be followed by a prepositional phrase. And that prepositional phrase is going to indicate if it's talking about one thing or more than one thing. So look at this top example here. Okay? Most of the story takes place in England. Most is one of those indefinite pronouns that can be singular or plural, right? But we have this prepositional phrase after that tells us of the story. Okay, story is singular. That means we're only talking about one story when we say most. Okay, so that prepositional phrase there makes this most singular, which means we have to give it a singular verb. And singular verbs end in? Singular verbs end in? What, Mason? Singular verbs end in? Yeah, man. Okay. So we use the singular verb takes place in English. Now, if we flip it, okay, and we change this prepositional phrase to stories, okay, we make that object of the preposition plural instead of story, then this prepositional phrase changes our most, our indefinite pronoun most, to a plural. So then we need a plural verb. So we would just remove the S to make the verb plural. Most of the stories take place in England. Is this making sense? So basically, you guys, if you ever see one of those indefinite pronouns that can be singular or plural, look at the context of the sentence to figure out, is it functioning singularly or is it functioning as a plural? Then you'll know which verb you should be using, right? Tough stuff. I know, you guys. You're doing awesome. Hang in there. All right, let's do some practice. So I just want you guys to drag your dot over the correct verb. Use the chart, okay? Use your notes. I gave you all of these indefinite pronouns in a fancy chart in your notes. Use them. Okay, I need answers from everybody. I'm gonna finish. Yeah.
I so that's out.
Oh no! The code. Yeah, write the code on the board again. C, E, U, E, E. Okay. All right. Finish in 5. That makes sense. Crushing it! You guys are awesome. 100%. Minus Mason because he got wiped out accidentally. Okay, way to go. Okay, your indefinite pronoun is what? What's your indefinite pronoun in the sentence? You guys can just shout it out. What's your indefinite pronoun in the sentence? Nobody. Okay? Nobody is our indefinite pronoun. It is our subject. Now remember, if it ends in one, body, or thing, it's singular. So that means we need the singular verb, and singular verbs end in? Way to go, Wang. She's on it. Yes, girl. Okay. It ends in S, so we need likes. And you guys, if you say it out loud, it just sounds right, doesn't it? That's the thing about subject-verb agreement. A lot of times, it's just going to sound right. So just use your ears. Nobody likes liver for dinner. Beautiful. Try this one. Get back in, Mason. Finish in 5. Crushing it 100% again. You guys rock. Okay? We've got our indefinite pronoun subject, both, and both is always going to be plural, right? It implies more than one. So that means we need the plural verb play. Way to go. You feel like you guys are okay with indefinite pronouns as subjects? I'm seeing one person nod and the rest of you are like, okay, moving on. Compound subjects, okay? What does that word compound mean again? Somebody remind me. Compound means, I'm only asked you this like every day. Compound means what? Diana, what does it mean? Yep. Yes. More than one. 2 or more. Okay? Compound means 2 or more. When we have, tacos. Having some of those tonight because it's Taco Tuesday. So when we have a compound subject, okay, it's going to consist of two or more parts, and it's going to be joined by a conjunction, and, or nor. And there are two rules that we have when we're dealing with compound subjects, okay? So we're going to look at those two rules to figure out whether our verb should be singular or plural when we're dealing with compounds. Give you guys a hot second to fill in your notes. We're going to move on. And this will be posted on Classroom 2, okay? So we're going to move on to now. Okay, so the first rule. If you have a compound subject, and I know my projector thing is covering it, but compound subjects using and, so like the word and, the conjunction and is what that says. So if you have a compound subject whose pieces are joined by the conjunction and, they're usually going to require a plural verb, okay? Because it's like we're talking about this and that and that and that and that, right? All of them put together is what we're talking about. So that's more than one thing. So they need a plural. So here's examples. Running and lifting, okay, two compound subjects joined by that conjunction and. Running and lifting weights are good ways to keep in shape. And that are is one of our plural linking verbs. Here's another example. Student and instructor are two subjects, okay, and they're joined by that conjunction and. The student and the instructor work long hours, okay? Work is a plural verb because it does not end in S. Singular verbs end in S, right? Pretty straightforward. And usually, again, you can hear it. The second rule with compounds, if you have a subject that's joined by these conjunctions right here, any of these conjunctions, or, nor, either, or, neither, or, not only, but also, what you have to do is you have to look at the subject closest to the verb to figure out if your verb should be singular or plural. So here's an example. Okay, we've got the either or conjunction, right? Either or. Our subjects are dean and assistant. So either the dean or his assistant, and we have to look at the subject closest to the verb. So assistant is singular, right? We're talking about one assistant, which means we need the singular verb, and singular verbs end in S, addresses the freshman class. Is this making sense? So basically, you guys, with these types of conjunctions, it's saying, do you either want this one thing or do you want this other thing, right? It's not saying, do you want this and this together? It's saying, no, do you want this one or do you want this one? So it's separating them, which is why with these conjunctions, you have to look at the subject closest to the verb. Here's another example. So we've got the neither nor conjunction, and our subjects are professor and students. Okay, so again, we look at the subject closest to the verb, which is students. Students is plural, more than one. So we need the plural verb walk. Neither the professor nor the students walk the halls. Is this making sense? You just got to remember the rules. Okay? Okay, let's do some practice on this. So think about the rule, use your notes, and then drag your dot over the correct verb here. All right, let's finish in 5. You can decide. Okay, we got it though. This is good. Some of you chose one and then you thought about it and then you flipped to the right one. What's our key indicator here? What do we look at? Where's our conjunction? Auburn, where's our conjunction? And, okay, well, what's the rule? If we have two subjects joined by the word and, do they get a singular or a plural verb? Marcus. Okay, ready? I'm going to say it again. You ready for this, Marcus? Okay, if you have two subjects joined by the word and, do they get a singular or a plural verb?
Singular or plural?
There you go. Plural. Okay, they get a plural verb. So we need to choose the verb see. Because see is plural. Because singular verbs end in Creighton. Singular verbs end in? Yeah, man. All right, so see is the correct verb here. Try this one. You're like, it's the same sentence. No, it's not. I changed the word. Let's finish inside. We are not in agreement on this one at all. We're split. Does anybody want to make their case? Why did you choose the verb that you chose? Everybody's like, no, I feel like I'm wrong. Nobody wants to speak up. All right. What do we look at when we're trying to determine what kind of verb we should choose for compound? What do we look at? Auburn, what do we look at? The conjunction. What's our conjunction here? Go ahead, Auburn.
Nor.
Nor. Okay, then you guys look at your rules. Don't pack up. We still got minutes. Look at your rules. When we have the conjunction nor, Mason, the conjunction nor, where do we look to figure out if our verb has to be singular or plural? What subject? So we've got two of them. No, that's not the rule. Which subject do we look at, you guys? We got work to do. The subject closest to the verb. It's singular, so you need the singular verb sees. Woo! We'll pick it up here tomorrow. Have a good night. Good day. Oh my gosh, it's not even night. Yeah, it's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be a long one.
Do we finish this tomorrow?
Yes, we're gonna finish this lesson tomorrow.
So was it C's or C's?